Yo. You're on?
Oh, sorry.
Hey,
what's
man,
up, folks? Welcome to the smoke session.
What's up, people? I am your boy, Big Rock.
Brother Jam.
I'm your boy, Bishop.
Brother Los.
We got Los behind the camera today, folks.
We are here, Los the Ghost, the cameraman with the most.
And I can see.
Oh man. Okay,
man.
I want to
So
get
what
into
is
this. I want to get into this conversation.
Yes, man. Yes.
Because we finna talk, nigga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
For those of y'all who may not be aware, but there is a thing that exists that's called the SCP universe. Secure, contain, and protect. The SCP Foundation is an organization that is basically trying to maintain normalcy. That is their stated goal.
Right.
So they don't want normalcy to break. But there's all these things in the world that break normalcy. So what they do is they find them, they lock them away, they try to figure out how they work or how they can keep them locked away,
Right.
but they try to protect us, the general public, from this. Now, all of this, of course, is fictional. But the SCP universe, man, and there's a wiki for it. So if y'all ever want to look it up, check out the SCP wiki. That's where it started. That's the written versions of all these stories. But basically, it started with SCP-173, and somebody wrote this story as instead of writing it as a short story, they wrote it as a form of a file that was found. And like, you're not supposed to be seeing this. This is some kind of top secret document, was the way it was presented. And what it did is it contained two things. It contained the containment procedures for this entity. In other words, what you had to do to keep it locked up, and the description of the entity itself and how they got it. And so these things, it was basically a statue, a cement statue, that whenever you weren't looking at it, it snapped your neck.
It's made out of cement and rebarb and kind of like.
And got some spray paint on it. It was. It looks like a.
You gotta walk away back.
It looks like a piece of abstract art.
I did not expect that.
Right?
Part.
Right. It literally. But that's what it does. It will kill you the minute you're not looking at it, and it moves so fast that it can kill you in a blink.
So even if you blink, your neck just breaks.
You can't go in to clean its room.
Yeah.
Unless there's three people, and all three have to let each other know when they're going to blink.
Shit.
For some reason, being concrete and made out of rebar, it shits its tank.
That's
it does nothing but it messes up its cage all day because it does nothing but secrete blood and poop.
But it doesn't
charge
move
for that.
And that's the thing. It's dangerous, obviously, right? Because it kills people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why the blood and the poop? What is that? And so this was the first SCP. Not only was this the first SCP ever written, but it was also the first one I ever read.
Yeah.
And when I read it, I was like, but why?
Right.
I had so many questions.
Right.
And no matter where I went in the SCP, well, they have what's called SCP Tales, where different authors can come in and add to the stories.
That's what I heard. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. But the original, just SCP-173 by itself, it gave you no answers.
Yeah.
It was just like, here's this thing, it exists, deal with it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and for me, that was it. I was sold. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I started getting into the different, like there's a lot of YouTubers who read the SCP files. Some do animations to them. Some do like little videos and things like that. It just depends on your particular taste. I mainly listen to them like they're, podcasts or audiobooks, because there's some that are hours long. There's some that are 5 minutes long. Again, depends on what your tastes are and what you like. I like longer things, when I'm listening to stuff like that.
Longer things.
I just saw that one today.
And that's what she got.
Yes, sir.
Right now we got SCP-538 playing in the background. It's called Shadow Spiders. And
Arachnophobia over here. So
what it is there's these, it's basically a species of spider, but they only exist in a shadow form. And they feed on other shadows. So but it has to be the shadow of a living thing. So what they'll do is they attach themselves to your shadow while you're sleeping and feed off your shadow.
Or they can pass to another,
What does that, does it affect you anyway?
if they bite you.
Now, that's for the most part, they can't tell that, they don't see that it causes any physical damage to the creature.
Yeah.
But the spiders actually do get bigger if they have a steady source to feed from.
Yeah.
So they can get, I think they said like about that
5
big or so.
centimeters.
Yeah.
5
So they get
centimeters.
pretty big. But now if you startle them or you come at them too fast, they can't attack.
Now you won't feel when the initial. It seems like just if you look at your shadow, you just see a spider crawling.
So you could be sleeping and they feed on you and you do some shit like this.
And they bite your shadow.
And they
but
bite you.
Wherever the corresponding bite is, that's when you're gonna feel like I just got bit by something. And they were saying how.
But it doesn't hurt you, literally. Like fuck you up or anything.
Oh no, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go through some. I think there's like 5 different stages.
See,
Right now on the video, they just describing them now.
Yeah.
After being bitten, the subject will data expunge, resulting fluid will be completely translucent and harmless.
Yeah,
Subject
basically-
shadow will have at this point completely disintegrated into smaller specimens of SCP. Oh yeah, it
You
uses
too.
your shadow to reproduce.
And not just your shadow, but you will turn into a proto, and then they reproduce that way. So yeah, it's deadly. It's like a Euclid class. I'm good.
So yeah,
see now, I don't like spiders in no form. Whether them
shadow.
hoes are shadows.
They say once you have them on you, you really can't get rid
But-
of them unless they transfer to another shadow or anything like that. But they had the one I saw.
Man,
They
look.
had this one D class that had, but they put him in a bright room, completely. They explained containment in a bright room. He was put into a medically induced coma, and they had a doctor. They had, because the entire
The
room.
shadow.
No, the actual person.
That the shadow bit.
What? No, the D class with the spiders are on. You can't see the
okay,
spiders.
okay.
But the shadows, when you look at the shadow, you can see the spiders crawling. So
Okay,
they had a
gotcha.
scientist come in, not to walk in, but you had to go through decontamination. Where it's
they have to wear
completely sealed.
hazmat suits like level
And
something
you have to-
whatever
you
hazmat
have to
suits.
walk real
I'm still
slow.
good.
And then an examination.
Fuck all
But-
that.
But when he was looking at the person, the person looks like it's just, in a coma or whatever, but he saw that because the light did cast a shadow, because they had to have at least one shadow for them to keep feeding off of. And he saw the spider just moving around his body in the shadow form, and he said he moved a little bit too fast at one time. One of the spiders kind of raised up like it saw him, and he just kind of froze. Then the spider went back to doing his thing. He was like, oh shit. But they wanted him to do a physical examination, meaning take his pulse. So
Yeah.
as he's reaching to take the pulse, he can see the spider like, oh, what's going on? Like that.
And when
Yeah.
you exit the chamber where they kept like you have to wear a hazmat suit like that, and you have to walk into almost like an airlock, but instead it's a light lock.
Yeah.
So it has a thing that shines super bright light on you on 360 degrees, so there can be no shadows
shadow,
to
yeah.
make sure none of them get out.
But they did. But there is a position where there is a shadow cast. That way they
But-
can actually.
But
I want to write one of these.
you can.
How do you
Yeah.
submit? I know that's what I wanted to ask you.
You go to the wiki, and all you have to do is submit your writing. Now they do have people who approve what gets an actual official SCP number.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that doesn't even make it is still it's still out there and able to be read. So you can write one, and
Yeah.
it may not even be official, but if it's good enough, people will take an interest in it.
I want to see
you know.
if I can get
And
an official
We
one.
did one. Big
Those are just the short versions of those. You have some where you have whole grand scale stories being told. I think I was telling you the other day about the Sarkic cults and the Mechanites. and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's a fight between two gods and the cults that worship them.
Yeah.
You know, and this has been taking place over years and throughout history. There's so many.
Like over 5,000.
Yeah, there's actually over 5,000 of them right now. So the numbers have gotten up there over the years. But man,
what's your favorite one so far?
Got 3 of them, so go with yours. Man.
My first favorite, if I'm going to do that, I have to say is Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
What is it? 79 and 76 and 79, I think.
076 and 078, I believe.
Man. So okay, so Cain. Wait, I always get them mixed up. Which one was the killer?
Abel.
Yeah.
Abel killed Cain.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Cain
Killed Abel.
killed Abel.
Cain
So
killed Abel.
They kind of flipped it.
No, they didn't.
No, I'm
So-
talking about as far as
Oh, okay. So Cain killed Abel. We all know that story. So Cain in the SCP universe, he is. They describe him as being a Middle Eastern man. As far as you can tell, they say he looked like he's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
Good shape, but he has biomechanical arms that are made out of a metal that no one knows what it is.
Okay.
And when you ask him how he got them, he doesn't know.
Okay.
As far as they can tell, he's immortal. He's been alive since, like, I want to say it's been, I think they said it was like 3,000 years old as far as they could tell.
Yeah.
And he has a photographic memory, so he remembers everything that he's been through during those times.
Yeah.
And anything organic that is brought in his presence, and I forgot what the radius was, automatically starts to decay. Because in the Bible, part of the curse that was put on Cain, because he was the one that grew crops, was that you'll never be able to work the land again.
Right.
And so anything around him that is made from, like, anything living, like plant matter, leather, anything like that, it instantly starts to decay in his presence. And his brother, Abel,
Human?
huh?
So that would be human beings, right?
No,
No,
plant-based.
not people.
More
Oh,
plant-based.
okay.
But it has to be like he wouldn't cause living animals to decay, but things
Oh, okay.
made from
Okay,
them.
Okay. I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
So then you have Abel, who of course was the one that was killed.
Right.
And apparently in the SCP universe, he's angry about it because he basically exists in a black sarcophagus with a lock on it that locks itself. And he periodically emerges from this thing and he goes on killing rampages.
And the sarcophagus itself is locked in a huge box with several locks, but it's the locking mechanisms go off at
However they choose to.
Yeah, so he can be in there for like 5 minutes or several years. You just don't know
So-
when he's coming out.
He comes out, his body is covered in what they describe as black arcane tattoos. And what his ability, basically, he's damn near indestructible. They have literally had to use nukes to stop him when he goes just off. And so he's hard to kill, and he can produce bladed weapons at will. So there's no such thing as disarming him.
He kind of just reaches into a space and just brings out a blade.
He literally just instantaneously has bladed weapons in his hand at any given moment if he wants them. And so these two exist in the SCP universe, and one of the SCP, because there's in the SCP universe, although you have all these numbers going up to over 5,000 now, there's no official SCP-001 because that's too special of a spot. Now there are some excellent proposals for 001, and one of them is this thing they call the Gate Guardian. Okay, we all remember the story from the Bible when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? And what did God do? He put a flaming sword at the gate to guard the entrance to the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Well, this thing is like a 20-foot tall giant. Well, I'm trying to remember because I think that when the one I heard it gave it in the metric system, and I have no comparison for the metric system.
Right.
Basically, a giant flaming angel is just standing in the desert out somewhere in the Middle East. And anybody who approaches too close, you get a telepathic message that says, turn around.
Get the hell out of here.
Leave. Go.
Come to
And
the
if
road.
you keep moving forward, then it becomes aware of you and it will turn towards you.
Yeah.
And if you get even closer, anything that gets within a certain range, it has a sword that it will pull out, and it can move so fast, there's no stopping it. And it destroys anything. And they've sent like military grade weapons up against this thing, and it kills everything in one hit.
Yeah, I'm talking about from like overseas. Oh, that's so no.
And if you strike any force that's exerted against it, it will take out the target that exerted that force.
Yeah.
So you can even have a tank sitting miles away, and you shoot, bam,
That thing
you
gone.
gone, and it's gonna be right back where it was. And so as a experiment, the SCP Foundation decided to bring Cain and Abel
Yeah.
to
Cain
meet
was reluctant.
the Gate Guardian. Neither one of them wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And what did Cain say? I forgot.
He was like, I'll do. He was so reluctant. He was like, no, I cannot. I really don't want to meet my brother.
No, this is not meeting his brother. This is meeting the Gate Guardian.
Oh, he was like,
This is so. What wound up happening was they took him to it, and he didn't want to do it, and then he was like, no, I don't really want to do this, but they made him go. And so when they made him go, he got a telepathic message from the thing that made him drop to his knees and start crying.
Okay.
And he was like, please don't make me go back. And he would not tell them what it said.
but when the two brothers did meet,
Oh, well, that's
yeah.
a whole nother one. Yeah, so
Yeah, you have to explain Cain's ability.
I did.
Well, no, you explained more of Abel's, but Cain's any say if you shoot him or anything, that force will be coming back towards you rather than Cain. So because
Oh
of God,
yeah. That I forgot about that part. Cain, you can't any force exerted against him is redirected back at the sender. So if you try to stab him, the knife will touch him. It won't hurt him, but you feel pain. He feels it too, but he doesn't get injured.
God's decree.
So he feels everything. If you shoot him, he feels the bullet, but it does no damage. But you'll have a bullet hole in you.
Bullet hole.
Matter of fact, that's how the SCP Foundation found him, because he was in some Middle Eastern country. I've forgotten now. He was in some Middle Eastern country traveling, and he got accosted by like a gang of thugs, thinking they was gonna like rob him, not realizing you can't hit him.
Right.
Not really.
Right.
So they start trying to beat him up, and they basically killed all of themselves.
Right.
And so
So I want to know what happens when he meets the angel.
he just would not go.
Oh, he wouldn't do it.
He just
Neither
flat.
one will go.
Well,
So
Cain
whatever-
went. Cain did get, and that's when he got that telepathic message. But Abel just was like, nah.
Man,
He was just like, no.
that would be really interesting.
Because there's been a few times when they've been able to get Abel
Right.
to calm down
That's a bar.
enough to actually communicate with him.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was working as an agent for the SCP Foundation.
Oh, no
They
shit.
sent him in, and he had a team that he would go in with, where when it was shit that they just knew had to be killed.
Yeah.
And was going to be really hard to kill.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he took out a few of what they call reality benders.
Okay.
Because every so often in the SCP universe, you'll have these people who pop up that can actually alter reality.
Okay.
And it is funny because they've documented it so many times, they have stages of reality bending.
Okay.
It's like when you first develop the power, you don't usually realize you have it.
Yeah.
You just all of a sudden things start going your way. Things change when you think about them too much. Things that shouldn't happen, really become like, wait, how the hell? And then if it progresses to all the way to what they call a stage green. And when you become green, that's when you either completely lose control of your powers or you gain full mastery of them. So, yeah, there's been some reality benders who, like, they've just gotten into the habit now, unless they're cooperative, they just take them out. Because they're too dangerous.
Yeah.
Once you start realizing, just think about it. If you could change reality at will, and not just local reality, but you have some who can change reality on a universal scale if they so chose to.
Yeah.
There was one SCP called The Voice Behind Me. I can't remember the number. But basically, this black guy died in like the 1800s. And after a certain number of days, he just rose from his grave and levitated.
Okay.
And from that point,
Jesus.
Right.
on, he was able to like start altering reality. But the problem is unlike most reality benders, his powers went from like 0 to 100 in like a day.
Yeah.
So he literally raised himself from the dead and then started really fucking shit up. And like it got to the point where he became like he had floated out over the ocean. And his body just started becoming like amorphous shapes for a little while. And then after a certain point, he turned into a 6-pointed star and was just floating over the ocean and glowing. And like the water pressure, like the air pressure coming off of him was like causing the ocean to dent.
Wow.
The surface of the ocean to like cave in. And so he just floated there for a few days. And then they noticed some of the microphones they had in observation vehicles that were close by started picking up a conversation that he was having with himself.
You know, one of my favorites, SCP 507. It's called the Reluctant Dimension Operator.
Oh yeah, that dude. I feel bad for him. Yeah.
He has no control of what's going on. He basically just
Hops into alternate dimensions against his will.
for a short or even long time, and each almost a lot of the dimensions are something you can't even imagine. And no matter where he's at in the dimension or where he walks to, since they put a tracker on him, he's about the same distance as far as he traveled when he comes back. And if you're unfortunately to be touching him, and when he hops dimensions, you're transported too. But if you're not touching him when he goes back to the regular dimension, you're stuck there.
And he has no control over it, so he could leave at any minute.
Right.
It was messed up because he's wound up in some dangerous places, but in one of the places that he wound up, he wound up when he came back. He literally was like screaming like no, and he was inconsolable. They had to like stop him from trying to kill himself because when they finally got him to explain what happened, he said he had found this place that was like heaven. It was literally paradise.
Okay.
It had everything he could possibly want. It had beautiful women and everything. He was just in the best place he could have possibly ever been. And he didn't. Yeah, it was one woman. I forgot. But it was just like paradise for him. Yeah. And then he knew being there that eventually he was going to hop back.
Right.
And when he did, he was like, I don't want to do anything else now. And they say it took him like years to be able to get over the depression from that happening.
Man, can you imagine that being in paradise, knowing that at any given moment
It's gonna get snatched away from you.
Yeah, you know what you gotta ask yourself? That's not paradise.
Right. Another dimension.
You know what I'm saying? That's not
But
paradise.
At one point, he hopped into a universe where he he wound up in this forest, and every plant in the forest, he had been there for a little while and he had found water to drink but nothing to eat. And so when he started trying to eat on the plants, he tried to break off a piece of one of the plants and it started screaming. And all the other plants around it screamed as well. And the screaming went on for hours. And so he stopped. He didn't eat anymore. And so when they stopped screaming, he eventually jumped back. It said years later, he wound up hopping back to that same dimension. And the minute the plants realized he was back, they started screaming. And they screamed the entire time he was there, which was for days, until he left. So when he came back, he just wanted to be in someplace quiet for a while.
Right.
I was like, dude.
That's horrifying.
But that's SCPs
Dude.
for you, man.
Some are
I
good,
have-
some are safe, some are just you don't want to ever go to them.
I'm gonna write something really good.
The
man.
best SCP, well, my favorite
SCP.
SCP, I have to say, is SCP-99.
Mm.
He's a jelly
Yeah.
monster. They call him the tickle monster.
Okay.
And he's just this blob of orange goo. He has like 2 eyes, but he can kind of make a face, but he has to work at it.
Yeah.
And his favorite thing is to literally engulf people, but he won't cover your head, but he'll engulf you, your whole body, and tickle you.
Tickle monkey.
But he's been known to cure depression permanently.
Yeah.
When you-
People have been diagnosed with clinical depression. Just going in physical contact with him
Yeah.
will alleviate the symptoms for a little while. But if he completely engulfs you, it can alleviate the depression permanently.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why they allow him to interact with other,
That's some creative shit.
other, facility members.
Just
Like,
coming
I'm
up
feeling a
with
little bit
all
down.
kinds of- just
Go
come
see
up
the
with
tickle
something
monster.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these are like, that's out
I'm
there.
gonna write some dope shit.
But-
Yeah,
dog.
you write some
And
weird
then on top of that, okay, so there's this other SCP called SCP-682, the hard to kill reptile.
Yeah.
It's this giant.
Oh, let me say this right quick before
Okay.
you do that. This is important. So, myself
Okay.
and a friend are writing something, right? We already started writing on this,
Okay.
and in that,
Speak up.
it has a reality shifter.
Ooh.
Okay. So I just want to put that out there so nobody thinks that I'm biting. That
I mean-
we're biting off it.
But it's a. I mean, as far as like any kind of sci-fi things, stuff like that, it's a common trope.
Yeah, man.
You
That
know,
could be your SCP. Explain that, dude.
I mean, hey,
You know?
SCP,
I want to
the
do.
Daily
I want
Sword.
to do something that's gonna that one they're gonna pick, and something that I want to try to write something that they'll be like, man, we could consider this for number 1. 001.
Make it about
You get good
smoke.
Oh, well.
Make it about
You
smoke.
know what I'm saying?
Man.
I wanna do something.
You make it about smoke, man. When he comes around, you just get happy.
and the thing about the SCP universe really too is that the SCP universe doesn't have any hard canon.
Mhm.
So, like, literally, that's one of the reasons, like, there's no SCP-001, because several of them propose a beginning for the SCP Foundation itself. And nobody can come to a consensus on even what that should be.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it really is just a free way to write a story. All it gives you is a basic structure. You know what I'm saying? Make it, and I really encourage anybody who's a fan of science fiction, short stories, long stories, whatever you might be into. If you are into that kind of thing, really check them out. I recommend 2 channels in particular. The Vulcan is on YouTube, and there's another channel called SCP Orientation. Both do very good jobs at reading the SCP files. Their voices are really easy to listen to. And if you're interested in some visuals, they give you some interesting visuals as well to watch while you listen to them describe these stories. So yeah, it's really worth a listen. If you're the type of person who's into podcasts already, you would probably find these entertaining. If you also happen across that sci-fi, check that sci-fi box on the list as well. So hopefully you'll find it entertaining. But yeah, man.
Now, don't get stuck over there. Make sure you still come back here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna be talking about more good stuff like that.
And then one of 2 of my favorites is one, the Plague Doctor, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
other is actually Dr. Bright.
Oh yeah, Dr. Bright. I forgot about him.
Yeah, who's actually it's what they call the O5, which is pretty much the top heads of the SCP
Yeah.
Foundation. They the ones who make all the decisions. and they're almost like family ran.
Dr. Bright is an interesting character because he's functionally immortal, but because he accidentally did something stupid. Okay. So they were studying this SCP. They knew it was an SCP, but they just didn't know what it did. It was a necklace made out of this particular combination of gemstones. Nothing special about the gemstones in and of themselves. Just a couple of diamonds and like a big ruby in the middle.
Yeah.
But they knew it was something off about it, but they didn't know what. And I forgot exactly how it happened, but he wound up putting the necklace on, not realizing what the necklace did. And basically what it does is the necklace downloads your consciousness.
Okay.
So once you take off that necklace, there is a copy of you. Well, I'm sorry, let me back up. If you keep it on for a certain amount of time, for a short period of time, then it will make a short-term copy of you. It can.
Okay.
But if you keep it on for, I think, like a few days, it becomes permanent. You are the personality that it is in now.
Okay.
And then what happens is anybody who puts on that necklace after you becomes you.
Okay.
Basically, every time you're literally immortal as long as someone puts that on. You have the same. You're Dr. Bright, and
So
he
it's
was
a
a
stack.
brilliant.
It's like a stack.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But now the interesting part though is that because of the way this necklace works, so if I download myself into it, and then I put my necklace on you after I'm the permanent copy, then the necklace, there's two versions of me in existence now.
Right.
We have a conversation.
We're both me.
Right.
But from the point that you became me with the necklace, we're different.
Right.
And they had to ban him from being able to take the necklace off. He's not allowed to. Because he fucked around and made some copies of himself, and he did some shit he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, he was just because he was such a brilliant
I want
scientist.
to read that.
Dude, Dr. Bright is an interesting character.
Well, I mean, they have it. You can read them also.
Oh yeah, you can go. You can. These are first and foremost, and I do want to express that I talk about them in the term of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But they are written stories. You can go to the SCP Wiki, and literally go to Google, type in SCP Wiki, and it will come up, and you can read all of these stories for yourself. I was introduced to them in the way of YouTube videos and basically in a audiobook kind of format. So that's just how I happen to consume them. Yeah. But you can go back and actually just read the stories. And
but they have them all both, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And John was the one that got me started with this, and I think one of the very first ones was, of course, we talked about it before the show, 096, the Shy Guy.
Yo.
Oh yeah.
That dude. That's frightening. Cause you still don't know what he does to people once he catches them.
Yeah.
Because they don't explain it. That part is redacted. But he does something where his mouth stretches out, and then that's all they'll describe.
Yeah, it's like a thin, like almost like bone thin, but he's like almost like what, 8 feet tall or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Huge. And the thing is with that SCP, the Shy Guy, you cannot look at his face. You cannot look at a picture of his face or a video. Only way you can actually see, what it kind of looks like if someone draws it. That's the only thing that doesn't work. If somebody was able to draw the face before they're dead, then you can do it that way. But the thing is, no matter where you are in the world,
like the average woman to me. You see them, they don't want you to see them.
No matter Karen,
no matter
where makeup on, dog.
You sound like Karen. But
here you go.
nowhere you can be in America, and he could be in Russia or whatever the containment they have him in.
Yeah.
The moment you see his face, he goes into just being the Shy Guy, which is just this humanoid-looking creature with abnormal features, it was, it started, because he's always having his face, he's kind
He
of crying.
whines.
It's like he whines and
He
crying.
constantly whines
But
and he
then
covers
he'll go-
his face like this.
But then he goes into an agitated state. No matter what containment he's in, he'll break it. And no matter where you are on the planet,
They haven't.
he will get there very fast and kill you.
He once somebody once he senses that someone has seen his face, he literally makes a beeline. So he takes the most direct path, and it doesn't matter what's in between him and the target, but he makes a beeline, and they haven't found a material yet that can stop him.
Well, how
They
kill
haven't
it?
they haven't found a weapon that can do enough damage to keep him. They have literally blown this man down to the bone, like explosions, blown him to the, and his skeleton keeps running and regenerates as it runs.
And if he was running through a crowded city and everybody looking at him, he was like, ooh,
Right, and that's the dangerous part. So say if in between
Killer.
you, the target,
Yeah.
and where he is, there's a major city. Everybody along the way who sees him, he's going to kill.
Children, he doesn't care. Any
Yeah,
In the order he sees them, right?
and he's still gonna go get the original target,
You forgot
and
your
they
ways.
can't stop him. If
No.
you, as far as they know, if you're on the planet, he will get to you.
Yeah.
And they haven't tested it yet to see what he would do if somebody off the planet saw his face.
They need to just kill his ass.
They can't.
They can't. They
They
tried
can't.
everything.
They
They
have-
put him up against other SCPs.
There
They
was
couldn't
a
do it.
there was a one in one of the because like sometimes the files have addendums where they do like interviews with like victims or stuff like that of the SCP.
Yeah.
And one of the addendums on this one was a member of an MTF, which is like their emergency response teams essentially. The member of the MTF who was sent to go capture him originally, and they didn't really know what his abilities were. Can you imagine? That's your job, okay?
Yeah.
Your job is to go out and
go
corral unknown SCPs.
Right.
It's a whole different thing when your job in the Foundation is to work with the known SCPs.
Right.
But to be the niggas who go out and get the ones that they don't even know exactly what it does yet.
Right. And you make it back.
But the thing is, this is why they also when they
But
do
he-
find shit, they send in D class.
But when they interviewed this guy, he was like, kill it.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to do. I don't care what you got to y'all need to, the thing just needs to be destroyed. Cause he was like, cause what it did to them, and he broke down in like tears. Like,
Yeah, one actually committed suicide because a woman and an infant saw the SCP and it killed
oh yeah,
both.
I saw that.
yeah, that was messed up.
Well, you said he didn't want to do it.
Oh, what?
No.
Shock? No, he gonna kill you.
It doesn't-
He's still gonna whine while he does it though. He
Oh, he
whines.
whines while he does
And
it.
he screams.
Oh, I thought.
He screams while
Yeah.
he's running. And the thing is, the rate of speed that he moves, he can like hundreds of thousands of kilometers. He can move.
You know how they
Fucking
say
fast.
like the human body has all this strength in the muscles, but our brains kind of suppress our own strength.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because it doesn't want to
Which
do
is true.
damage to our own body.
Right.
Imagine if that was turned off.
Yeah.
And that's the type of like just raw animal strength this
Yeah.
thing has.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't care if he does damage to himself in the process of getting
Right.
to where he tries to go.
Right.
He's gonna get you. So yeah, it's a you don't want to witness his
The
face.
boogeyman.
Yeah. So
See,
I'm trying to tell you.
I have such a really, really good
if you're
idea, dog.
if you're looking for food just to feed your imagination, the SCP just universe as a whole is just something you can't help but enjoy. It's just all kinds of craziness. If you like space adventures, there's space adventures. If you like historical stuff, there's historical. If you like really gross body horror, there's that. If you like even stuff along the lines of like the Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraftian type stuff,
Oh,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There's one called Apotheosis where the whole world basically becomes mutants.
Yeah.
there's one where the sun at one point just turns every living organism on the face of the planet into a giant gelatinous blob. A super entity that just covers the entire surface of the earth. And they don't know why the sun did it. But the SCP Foundation also has SCP-2000.
Wait a minute. Back up to the blog. Say that one more time, because I know I had to miss something.
They call it the Day of the Black Sun.
Okay.
The sun, for some reason, turned black. And then when whoever was outside at the time that this happened, their bodies started to mutate into like a gelatinous goo. But the goo was still alive.
Got it.
And then
answered my question.
The different blobs of people and things, animals, whatever, just started forming these super organisms, and they was going out and hunting anybody who wasn't turned.
Okay, so at first, when you said like covered the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I took that literally. Right?
No, it went literally.
It's a black sun. But.
Okay, when you say cover the world, right? I'm thinking this big gelatinous, like
coating on the earth,
covering the
yes.
earth.
Same thing.
Yes,
Okay.
it eventually got to that.
So, how did somebody survive that?
SCP-2000.
Yeah.
SCP-2000 is a machine that can restart the world.
Okay.
If you want creative writing, watch SCP.
I just wanted to. Hey, got a good explanation. I'm with it.
Because a lot of this
I'm with it.
A lot of the shit is so way beyond. They're like, wow, somebody came up with this.
And when I tell you the SCP-2000 makes sense, it makes sense.
I know it makes sense because it exists.
Yes.
And you said it so matter of factly, it had to make sense for you to say it like that. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's a good story, dog.
Okay, and I promise it's gonna be the last one. Okay, but I have to say is my all-time favorite SCP is SCP-1000. Okay, SCP-1000 is Bigfoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bigfoot is not what you think it is. Bigfoot is a alternate race of hominids that evolved before humans.
Okay.
And they're way more advanced than we are.
Okay.
You come there forever.
They call themselves
Right.
the children of the moon because they were nocturnal. They stayed out at night.
Okay.
We were the children of the sun because we stayed out during the daytime. We were afraid to go out at night, but we were like animals to them. Basically, when our ancestors were coming along, they looked at us like we look at gorillas and chimps.
Okay.
So we were just creatures out in the woods, but they already had thriving civilizations. They had technology way beyond the technology we have today.
Okay.
Back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where Chewbacca's people came from?
Right.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
I'm picturing Bigfoot all hairy and shit.
Hey,
walking around and
Wookiees
flying.
fit the bill.
Dog, yeah.
But so they were way more advanced than us. But somehow, and the best we can figure out, according to the SCP, is that at some point, either an alien entity or an entity from another dimension came to Earth and basically gave all the humans weapons, super advanced weapons, and for a day got us, even though we were primitive, to be able to use these weapons. They call it the Day of Flowers.
Okay.
And basically the humans rose up and wiped out almost their entire population. And the few that were remaining, it used some of their own technology against them to basically turn them into basically savages.
Okay.
It took away their higher intelligence and made them animals.
Right.
So the problem with that is that this was, of course, eons and eons ago, that whatever was done to them to make them animals is wearing off.
Okay.
And they're coming back into not only intelligence, but memory.
Okay.
And they're basically they've sent messages to the SCP Foundation, letting the Foundation know that, hey, we recognize that y'all won, okay? But we're starting to remember who and what we are.
Yeah.
And unless you want this to become a problem, you need to start letting us back in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now it's getting to the point where Bigfoot is like, we will take y'all out. We know some things y'all don't.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Fuck
So-
around if you want to.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Basically, is one of those kind of situations, man. So yeah,
Yeah, the SCP universe and wiki is huge. So
And
if you
all
like
of these are stories written by different people.
yeah. You do have some authors who have been able to write multiple SCP stories, but I mean,
Generally, it's
generally, I mean, you can have anybody can submit it. You know, if you want to write one, you can write it and you can submit it to the foundation. And if they think it's good enough, they will add it to the wiki and you get an official number.
talk to the 05.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
man.
got to get approved by the 05 council.
Mhm.
right. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write something.
I'm telling you, dude. If you feeling the challenge, because I've thought about it myself. You know,
Didn't you say Lee was trying to do one?
Lee has an idea for one. She does. My youngest daughter has an idea for an SCP she want to write, and I was kind of helping her develop the idea. I won't talk about it because that's her thing to do, but it's a pretty good idea. She was going for a safe SCP, so
Or the tickle monsters, that type something.
not quite, but it's related.
I'm talking about safe. I'm talking
It would
about
be,
the
it would
category
be,
of safe.
yeah, it's safe, but it would be related to an existing SCP though. So I thought it was gonna be cute the way she was trying to tie it in.
Oh, before we go, we have to at least explain D class and the categories that they put the SCPs in. You have safe, you have Euclid, Kether, and then you have forget
You have what was it? It's safe, Euclid, Keter, Thommuel, and then
one way beyond that.
I can't think of
Smoke
what that
session.
other one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but then okay, so a safe SCP is obviously one that's basically harmless. It might be able to do some damage, but not unless it's one of those things that like it won't fuck with you if you don't fuck with it kind of things.
Yeah.
So some of
Simply
those,
safe
yeah,
is contained
some are
in
just
the
plain old safe, but some can just be safe if you don't fuck with them.
Right,
So
right.
safe can mean a few things,
Right.
but Euclid means it's dangerous. It'll kill you.
That's where he kills that baby.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's where he kills that baby.
Oh, this is what you saw?
You said
Yeah.
some are safe, and then some are safe if you don't fuck with them, right?
Right, but they could still be classified as safe.
Okay, so the ones that are safe, you know, just like the first safe you said,
Yeah.
like if they're that safe, why they have them locked up?
Because they're
I'll give you one example. One of them, safe SCP, is these things called dragon snails.
Okay,
Okay, because you have in SCP universe this entity called Dr. Wondertainment.
okay.
Okay, Dr. Wondertainment makes toys.
Like the Wondertainment.
Dr. Wondertainment, and he
Why
makes
do I think of the 70s?
he makes toys, but he makes anomalous toys.
Okay.
So one of the things that he created was called dragon snails, and what they are is you order them,
Like the Wondertainment.
and you get in the mail a little packet of eggs,
Okay.
and depending on the color of eggs, when you hatch them, they come out with these snails
Okay.
that have little horns on their head like dragons. So they look like little dragons, but they have a snail shell, and they have some of them, depending on their color, can breathe fire. Because you can have red ones that breathe fire, and then there's other ones that breathe different stuff. There's one that breathes lightning, you know, depending on, but like little sparks basically. But they're tiny, they're harmless.
Yeah.
Like they can cause house fires, but for the most
Sound like
part,
Gremlins.
they're adorable little pets. But it's completely safe.
Yeah.
But that shit's not normal.
Right.
It's an anomaly. It's an
Right.
anomaly.
There was one that another safe SCP. I forgot what they were called. It's the pets that evolve depending on the environment you raise them in. Oh, I can't think of their name.
Smoke.
But it was basically it was like you get this egg, and the egg, depending on what environment you put the egg in, would determine the animal that came out. So if you put the egg underwater, when it hatches, the thing that came out would have gills and be able to have fins and be able to swim and breathe.
Okay,
Or it might come out amphibious, where it can live in and out of water.
Right.
You put it in a regular standard apartment, it comes out with built-in dust filters where it can actually eat the dust and exhale clean air into your apartment.
Okay.
It's safe, but that shit's not normal.
Right. Right.
So that's why it's an SCP.
So the higher you were saying, the top is like the craziest shit.
Yeah, then now you start getting to Euclid, meaning as far as they know what it is, they found it, but they have to do a little bit more as far as containing it to make sure it doesn't break out.
Yeah, it's not something you would want to walk into the room of it accidentally, because it's gonna kill you.
Like the shadow spiders. You just that
And
would
we're
consider
gonna
you.
watch that when this session is over.
Yes.
We're
Okay.
gonna watch that.
Cool. And what, this or the shadow spider?
No, the shadows.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
No
considered
problem.
Euclid.
So
it
then,
can be contained, but
yeah, it can be contained, but it's dangerous. You don't want to mess around with it. It's not a toy.
Yeah.
You know. Then after Euclid, you got Keter. Keter is potentially world-ending.
Okay.
yeah, it's like it can't be like 096 what you're watching. Like it even though it's contained, but
It's not really contained.
Yeah.
Like basically, we just keeping an eye on it because we can't really contain it. It's the stuff that they have no control over,
Right.
no idea how to stop it if it really went off, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, and then when you get into Thomul, Thomul is an interesting class because Thomul could mean like world-endingly dangerous, but also in some way useful.
Yeah.
There's Anantashesha, which is I can't remember the SCP number, but it's this giant serpent that they found, or giant eel-ish like creature
Yeah.
that they found floating in the middle of, I think it's the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And from as best they can figure out, it exists in multiple dimensions at once, but we're just seeing a part of it here in our dimension. But when it exudes a fluid, like a slimy goo around its body,
Mm-hmm.
like an eel.
that the SCP Foundation figured out that if they took it and refined it in a certain way, it produces drugs that can wipe people's memories, and that's where they get their amnestics from. The problem is that to get it to produce this liquid, you have to feed it living people,
So,
and this is where D class come in.
yeah, D class are pretty much just
Disposable people. They have, the SCP Foundation has a limitless supply of D class apparently, because they never run out of D class to kill. But whenever you need a job done and you don't want to risk any of your own people, you send in a D class. And according to the foundation, they get them from like prisons and stuff like that from around the world. People who sometimes it's just people who somebody else wanted to make disappear. You wind up as a damn D class in the
Not even
SCP
that, if
Foundation.
you
That's
had
the
like
Suicide Squad.
well, not even that.
Yeah, but at least Suicide Squad got superpowers. You know, these are just regular people.
And not even that. It said if you was a scientist and you fucked up, you just got demoted to D class.
Yeah, if you fuck up bad enough, you can be made a D class if you work for the foundation.
Yeah.
Dude. And so they send in D class to go deal with. Yeah, basically you're a living test dummy. You know, and if you die, oh well, because they purge the D class monthly anyway.
Then they make up cover stories and
It shows what he does. It showed a dude on the ground with his face eaten off.
It shows in this what he does because they had to do something for the movie. But in the actual story, they never describe what he does. It's redacted.
It's like the body just kind of just.
That's right, because they do put that redacted. Another instead of black marks, they just put the word redacted.
Yeah.
But in the typings, it blanks it out.
Yeah.
I'm saying earlier, yeah, this is just the pixels, and he has these special goggles that is. Sorry, folks, who watching them 096. These special goggles.
Because right now, he would be coming after us.
If you
Right.
think about it,
We haven't seen.
but it's fictional.
No, because they're still blurring out his face.
Okay.
But it
it's
don't
his
matter.
face,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
him. It
yeah.
doesn't matter if you see his body. You have to see his face.
Cut that
okay.
shit out.
So this is why they're able to put a bag on it. It's like, as long as you don't look at his face, you're good. And then once there's no other threat, then he goes back to that docile, crying, covering.
Whoever did this though, this
Yeah.
shit look like a movie.
No, this was like somebody did it as a short film. That's what this
say
is.
word.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somebody took SCP-096 and made it into a short film.
Pretty
But
good.
they did a good job.
It's a very good.
Oh yeah, it's got high
Yeah.
production value. Somebody
Yeah,
really put
that's
some
what I
time
was-
and
that's
energy
what I-
into this.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
But y'all can check it out on the Wikipedia and
Yeah, man. I'm digging it, man. I hate that I didn't get a chance to look at any of them.
Yeah, I sent you
See,
one with Tupac. So.
You sent me a bunch of them, and
Oh.
John sent me a bunch of them.
The one with Tupac is so awesome, dude. There's yes, Tupac is an SCP. Okay, I'm not gonna say any more than that. Just go look it up, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Cause and the wonderful thing about this is so many things that we talk about, as far as movies and comic books and all of this kind of stuff. Those things are behind paywalls.
Yeah.
SCPs are free.
Yeah.
That is free entertainment that is just there for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
So if you like that kind of stuff, like I said, it's worth looking into because I have found countless hours of entertainment just listening to these, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
tell you.
because even just was it yesterday? I was like, let me refresh my stuff on, and I think it was like almost like 2.5 hours. It was giving like the top 25 discs of SCPs, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know about this one. That's when I found the Shadow Spiders. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Man, I listen to SCPs daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
There is not a
He
there,
the one got me
there,
into
there
this,
is not a
yes.
day that I go that goes by that I don't listen to an SCP at some point throughout the day.
Say what?
My drive to work, my sitting out in my car, my lunch
It's
break, my
entertaining.
drive
It's
home.
entertaining.
At some
It's
point,
entertaining.
or if I'm happen to be in the kitchen at home, cooking or something like that,
That good, huh?
I got
Yeah,
it in my
yeah,
headphones going. Yes.
yeah.
Once you start getting into one, you like, okay, I want to watch this, and then
See,
you start
Okay,
going.
look. Here's what you do. Go to the channel that I mentioned before, SCP Orientation,
Yeah.
Right
and
there.
he goes in order, and so you can literally start from 002,
Yeah.
and just listen. And if you don't want to just go in order, at least you have some. It breaks it down into some manageable kind of playlist that he has that. Where you can say, okay, let me check out 2, let me check out
Yeah.
6, let me check out 10. Okay, now I think I want to go up into the hundreds. Let me go, and he's got his playlist broken down into sections like that. So it's really useful as far as like if you want an introduction into it, just to kind of get a feel for it. I recommend his channel as an intro, and then you'll see what I mean as far as like different tastes.
So
And-
you know what type of stuff I like, right?
Yeah.
So do you think I should start from the beginning, or should I just jump in and just start listening?
I would say jump in.
Yeah,
Me personally.
you don't have to go in order. It really does make a
Yeah.
difference. I just like his channel because of the organization, but
Yeah.
as
Jump
far as
in.
just being able to just jump in, you can literally jump in anywhere.
So
Like you could pick, like I said, the first probably 3 or 4 I heard was 073, I think 102, and then like I want to say like
682. Goddamn.
oh man, yeah, probably.
The hard
And like
to kill reptile.
you just have no order in them, but you start going like, wow, okay.
The plague doctor and all. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like, oh shit. I already discussed this one with Lowe's. This one, I forget the number, but it's just a bell. You can literally summon it, but
oh yeah.
it will do whatever the fuck you want.
Literally.
As long as you don't, as long as you give him space to do his thing, whatever you want, he'll get it done. I just want that SCP.
The only thing I do remember there was a limitation on his ability though.
You can't just produce anything.
Yeah, he can't. Like it has to be
I want a plane,
like something he
no.
can carry or something he can actually bring to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just
So like,
leaks something.
yeah, he can't like bring you a planet. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
I want the biggest diamond that's
But yeah, if
bring
you
that shit.
you say I want a diamond of certain clarity and this carat,
Yeah.
he can make that shit happen.
Bring me $10 billion.
And you don't pay for it any type of way.
No,
No, he's. I don't know if he's considered. Well, in a way, he's considered safe because it's just confined to a bell.
Right.
But
What is he classified as?
I think if I remember right, I think he is considered safe.
because it's just he's confined to a bell. It's not the actual person. That's the SCP.
You
It's the bell. That's the SCP.
you summon him by ringing the bell, and if you ring the bell, he will appear. And once he appears, he will serve you until you dismiss him, and then he'll disappear. And
Bring me the finest steak that's ever been made in the world, and he will bring it to you.
you could ask him to cook you a meal. You could ask him to clean your house. You could also ask him to bring you plutonium, and he'll
One
go.
doctor was actually kind of abusing that. So they're like, nah, nigga, you don't need this bell. So you kind of abusing this privilege here.
Who takes the bell away?
And even like one of the SCP,
The foundation took it away.
Oh,
It was like, give me the best massage that ever, and then the brother did tell like, oh, this is the best massage I ever had in my freaking life ever. And yeah, it's whatever you ask him for, and even if you ask for something that's outrageous, he will let you know. I can't do
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm
I
sorry,
can't.
sir. I'm unable to fulfill that request at this time. Is there something else I could help you with? You know what I mean? Like, he literally, like,
Just give me that bill. That's all I want.
You know, bring me
There's
the pound
one-
of hundreds.
that is a
What's
glass,
the time on it?
a tumbler. You know what a tumbler
Yeah.
is, right? So it's a tumbler that you drink, like, brandy or something like that out of. And it automatically refills itself at least 3/4 of the way up the glass.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if anybody takes this glass and they drink some of the liquid that's in the glass, they instantly become a sadist.
Oh, shit.
It
Okay.
turns you into, and if there's anybody within line of sight, when you so if I'm sitting here and I'm holding the glass and I drink some of the liquid, I become the master. You instantly become the slave.
For real.
Because I'm looking at you as you're in my
So
field
whoever
of
you
vision.
look- so if
No,
you
no,
looking
no,
at
no,
your
no,
mama,
that tumbler.
when you take that drink, then your mama
But the
becomes
thing-
a slave.
But the thing about it
I'm looking
is,
at Lowe's,
it
like,
it
don't
also
you-
makes
don't
you
look.
it makes you want to abuse the person who you
That's
now have
even
trouble
worse.
over, power over. So it literally starts
That's
causing you to want to cause them physical pain, like to the point where you will kill them.
What about if nobody's around? It's just me in the room, man. Drinking.
Then
Person?
you will go find someone.
Oh, okay. So I was
So once you drink it, they call it a cognito hazard because it takes over your ability to control yourself. It literally takes over your mind, and if you're holding it, once you pick it up, they've discovered that the way it's actually refilling itself is from your blood.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Like, and you can put any fluid in it, and it will turn it into the same substance that it automatically fills itself with. So it won't let you dilute it. Like, you can't try to cut the effects. It doesn't matter what substance you put in the glass. It will always turn into the same brown liquid that everybody who's actually tried it describes it as being delicious and wonderful and all of this kind of stuff.
Right.
But you can literally fill it with piss, and it'll turn into that same brown liquid.
Oh, we're about to wrap it up, but the last one I also like is the vending machine. But we'll get into that one another day.
Yeah,
Yo,
for real.
man, this is something we're gonna definitely have to have, cause I mean it's
Every now and
5,000 of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're definitely gonna have to sit down and have these conversations because I'm about to start really getting into them now.
And I tell you, you're gonna when you start. I know when you do the editing and everything, when you get the chance to start looking up pictures and things for some of the ones we talked about, you're gonna get even more interested because some of
you're
the
looking at the numbers and with their 096,
it
also known as the shy guy.
Yeah.
it has a huge fan base, and of course along with that you get a lot of creatives. So there's a lot of art out there for the SCPs. YouTube example, I mean, you have people who have whole channels, thousands of subscribers, and all they do is read SCPs. So the market is out there.
It's a whole little underground community, dog.
Really, dude, you got people making movies. There was like a lawsuit like a year or two ago,
That's dope.
where some dude in Russia was trying to claim like ownership of all the SCPs,
Yeah.
I heard that.
and the SCP fan base like literally raised money and fought it.
Wow.
Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty great. It was pretty great.
Yeah,
But let's
man.
wrap this up.
That's dope.
All right.
That's
Good
dope.
show, brothers.
Definitely,
Because
man.
I can talk about this
All night.
Yeah, man, y'all, we gotta check out, and y'all too, man. Y'all go check out the SCPs if y'all haven't. You know what I'm
If you've
saying?
never heard of them, I know it sounds a little strange, but get into it.
Yeah.
Give it a try, I'll say,
If
and
you
you'll find
watching
yourself
this,
get
if you
into it.
watching
It's the
this,
creativity. It's the
If
creativity.
you watching this and you're a follower of this, you're gonna like it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
If you enjoy things that are just well thought out and
Creative, man.
creative and
Yeah.
and not afraid to challenge the way you see and think about certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some authors who really take you on some philosophical journeys with the shit that they write,
Say what?
because it makes you ask some tough questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, what would I do?
Right.
You know, so I'm trying to tell you, man, it really is entertaining. But I'll stop waxing on about SCP. So whatever. So thank y'all for joining us this evening. Again, as always, we're glad to have y'all. Oh, we still trying to raise money,
Right.
For Stand for the Silent. and for those of y'all who maybe didn't see it, we did do a live broadcast with a live show with the founder of the organization. His name's Kurt Smalley. Really good guy, really amazing human being, and
Right.
his whole goal is to try to stop childhood suicide as a result of bullying. So please make sure you
Hit that
take a look at the website. We got a link for their website directly on ours, so just go to thedailysmoke.com, check them out, and I guarantee you, once you learn a little bit about the organization, you will want to donate money, because the cause that they're fighting for is so important. So
Most
please
definitely.
stand for the silent.
Most definitely.
Dailysmoke.com, check them out, and hopefully y'all will feel it in your heart to give something.
Los
Yeah,
Los
man.
over there.
Look
And
at
also,
Los.
remember, we still
Look at
got
Los.
merchandise.
Where you at? Where you at? When
Still
are
got
you?
merch.
I'm right there.
You right there?
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
oh, yeah,
I got
I'm
work.
right
So my
there.
nigga, what's up? What's up, my nigga? What's up, bro? Shit. Hey, you what's up?
That's funny.
This is what happens when you let black folks get technology, man.
But thanks for watching us.
Yo, man, yeah, man, appreciate y'all, man. And like you were saying, go to the website, scroll towards the bottom, you'll see it say Stand for the Silent.
Anything
Hit
about
that
the smoke,
button, man.
go to the website.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
definitely.
Anything,
Yeah.
anything.
Merchandise,
Them
everything.
merch.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So
Pass the word, like, subscribe,
share.
and make sure y'all share. But please, y'all, pass the word, man. If y'all like what we doing, pass the word. And we love y'all for supporting us. The numbers have been good. So really appreciate it, man. Stay with us and let's grow, man.
You know, don't forget lives on Monday and Wednesdays.
Yes.
Sure.
Monday and Wednesdays live. That's the foundation.
Hey.
You got to hit that up.
For those of y'all who pay
Most
attention,
definitely.
we wearing the same clothes as the night we did the live broadcast about the Ukraine episode.
Right.
So we just got through filming that one, and I'm telling you, we have an amazing guest on that show who really understood the Ukraine situation firsthand.
Right.
So be sure and go back, check that
Oh,
episode
man.
out. It's pretty interesting. If you
Episode
really want to get a
116.
good understanding of the situation,
Yeah.
you know, this is a man who's got skin in the game. So be
Absolutely.
sure and check that out, and hopefully y'all will find that interesting.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. Anybody got any other announcements? Anything?
Oh, check us out on TikTok. We got a TikTok, and the link for that is on our website as well. And we also got an Instagram, and of course we got a Facebook. So be sure and check us out on our social media. You know, let you keep up with what's going on. We're gonna try to keep y'all posted on anything special we got going on, or you know, any interesting giveaways or stuff like that. Who knows?
Most definitely. And he hot, cause we just said go to the website and you can get to all of that. But that's what this is.
I'm just
man.
trying to be thorough.
For sure. Daily Smoke, man, go to the website.
You can cut that part out.
Too late.
Hey, man, we love y'all. Appreciate it, man. I'm your boy, Big Roy.
Brother Jam.
Brother Bishop.
Brother Los.
And we are the Daily Smoke, and this is Smoke Sessions number 9.
We got it right.
I finally got it right.
Got it right.
God damn.
And we are out.
Peace.
Peace.